Hi, this is Orange County Executive Steve Neuhaus. You're here listening to our latest edition of NeuCAST, and we have some really awesome guests with me today. I'm like super excited about these guys. Usually people give me somebody to, hey, you're going to do a podcast with this person or that group. I picked these ones because it's just so exciting, and you're going to love them too. So to my far left is Summer Crocket Moore, and to my right next to me is my friend Tony Glazer. They are the power couple that are behind the film movie movement in Orange County. So guys, welcome.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited to have you guys. You guys are always hip, hop, and just positive, even when we talk about like challenging stuff.
Yeah.
So the first thing people want to know, like, it is exploding. The industry's been exploding over the last 5-10 years in Orange County. It's gotten more and more popular. Yeah. It's a destination. We're going to talk about like COVID rolling through that and surviving. Amanda Dana from tourism, her and I are always excited to talk about the things that you guys are doing, what you've done, and what's planned for the future. So let's just talk about, who are you guys, and how the heck did you get to Orange County and opening a film industry? I know you're from the South, Summer, so let's just talk about you ladies first, and then we'll go into Tony, and then just like a little bit about your background, where you're from, and how you got here, how you met this guy. We'll talk about that because I know it's exciting too.
So I moved to New York City when I was 17. I grew up in a very small southern town called Paris, Tennessee. And, we really had a great arts program, even in the Deep South. My high school and my junior high and even my elementary school placed a big focus on arts because they thought that if you were able to open your mind to stories, you'd be able to grow because you'd be able to experience a lot of different things. And so I, knew from 6th grade that I wanted to be an actor, and of course, most of where I grew up was like, yeah, good luck with that. But I had a great 6th grade teacher, Nancy Elliott, who was like, if you want to do that, let's see what we can do. And I got to high school, and I had, Kenneth Humphreys and Linda Wilson were like 3 people who are instrumental in me being in New York. My parents were obviously big supporters, but so I was never told, no, it's not possible. I was told, well, let's give it a shot and see what happens. So kind of my whole philosophy is, let's try it. What's the worst that could happen? So I moved here at 17, became a really great waitress. Used my southern accent to get bigger tips.
Which, by the way, is a common story of any person in that industry.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. I was like, I got a scholarship, and I went to school in the city, and things really started happening for me when I was about 21. But so from 18 to 21, I was like, what am I going to do? I gotta hit those bricks, and so I became a waitress, and I had a wonderful person who taught me how to do that, and introduced me to Tony Glazer on a blind date. So that kind of was a first pivot of my life.
That was it.
But so small town girl, moved to the city, and just never left.
So you meet him. Let's talk about you then, and we'll just talk about how this whole thing came to, like, the Umbra's sound studios or sound stages. How do we?
Umbra stages.
Umbra stages, and we'll talk about the name and all that.
Oh yeah.
So Tony, now you're a little bit south of her. You're in Hollywood, Florida, and growing up.
I'm from a small but more southern town called Hollywood, Florida. Again, not a whole lot of industry there for me. I knew I wanted to be an actor. I knew I wanted to have that artistic life again, like Summer. There wasn't a lot accessible to me. There was a quick stint at the Fort Lauderdale Children's Theater where I was in. I played the Emperor in The Emperor's New Clothes at Parker Playhouse. It was a high point for me there, but at that point it was really, I didn't know what to do and where to go, so I ended up going to school in Boston. I went to Boston University as an actor. I came to New York, and like Summer said, you either hit the bricks or kick rocks. So I decided to hit the bricks, and at that point, I enjoyed acting, but found writing, which I found even more rewarding. Writing led to directing, directing led to producing. That led to our blind date and the formation of our company, Choice Films. And then from there, we kind of had a big world takeover plan to make all of this happen for us. And fortunately for us, after a Google search, we found ourselves in Orange County.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you start acting after Boston College. What were you doing? You were like Broadway or film?
Boston University. I was there in Boston University, and I started doing commercials and theater. That was my first big break. I did a lot of theater in the city. I did some commercials, I did some television, and then pretty soon I enjoyed so many other parts of the industry, which was really the beginning for me to sort of realize, and Summer and I have this conversation all the time, that we sort of learned everyone else's job. We realized that the best recipe for success was to know what everybody else does in the business, in our business, and so that's kind of what we set about doing.
When you guys sit back at night, when you finally get a chance to take a break, do you have, since you're in this industry, do you have to consume all sorts of stuff?
Absolutely.
Or do you guys have like shticks, like we like drama or we like action, or you have to be involved in everything?
Everything.
Wow.
Everything.
Whether you like it or not?
I like it.
Okay.
I like it, but
Even
you're
if
right.
it's-
You kind of watch it all.
Okay.
I was gonna say, even if it's something that you don't feel you'd be the target audience for, it's great to kind of open your palette up to all different kinds of storytelling. And I feel that it makes us better producers to be able to see what is working, what's not working. And really also stage managers to be able to have an idea. Anytime we're going to have a meeting for somebody who's going to come and tour the spaces as a potential client, we watch their work so that we have a shorthand.
We also watch a lot of work that happens on this side of the country to see where people shoot things, to see what their locations are. It helps us. Hudson Valley is tremendous for just the variety of locations. So every time we watch something, if it seems to be close by, we see, oh, that's a great location. What do we have that mirrors that? We're always looking.
One of the common things, the things I've seen, I get asked to give speeches at like colleges and graduations and stuff. And one of the themes I do is about not quitting and not giving up.
Yeah.
And a lot of people I refer to as like Harrison Ford, the big actors. Sylvester Stallone does a great podcast about how he was like rejected majority of the time. And yesterday I was looking online, for some reason this thing popped up an article and it said which series are going to be renewed or canceled. And many of them are not renewed. I mean, that's got to be unbelievable stress. You put all this work, all these actresses and actors and sound and everybody part of this, and it just doesn't catch on. But then some of these other ones are catching on, and they're making, I think I saw Yellowstone was $3 million an episode. Another one that's hot and sexy is like $250,000 an episode, and they're still doing okay. So sometimes it's not just money; it's just having that right click with the audience.
I think it's the storytelling and what people are drawn to, and what people. It's really funny. We had heard about Yellowstone for years and just never had the time to watch it. The minute we sat down and watched it, we were like, oh my gosh, the whole world that Taylor Sheridan has built through all the spin-offs even. It's riveting storytelling because it has great acting, great production value, and the writing is great. So
it's hard to know what's going to be successful or not going to be successful. You can chase your tail trying to figure that whole thing out. But I think at the end of the day, if you say something personal, if you say something honest, people can relate to it. And the moment that happens, you stand a really good chance of getting an audience and having people sort of pay attention to you. But to your point about not giving up, that was our whole thing. How do we not give up? And for us, the best thing was to not give up was to always stay in the business, even if we were holding a light or sweeping or swinging a broom. That we were going to stay here in this business no matter what, which was sort of the mantra behind the boot camp. Get in on the ground floor.
Yeah, get on set and
get on set and stay there.
And we call it the pivot, right? So, I'm in 4 unions. You're in 4 unions.
4
as
unions.
well.
Wow.
And so we
That's
work.
amazing. Wow.
Yeah, we work in front of the camera, beside the camera, behind the camera, above the camera. Being able to tell stories from a variety of perspectives, I think also keeps us working, right? We're never not working, but we're working in new and challenging ways. So it's never boring. There's always something new.
I can definitely vouch for that, because whenever I see you guys show me one completely set after another, and what's on the horizon is just completely different from what you've done.
Always.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Always.
Yeah.
So,
and we have such a great time. I will say it is the quality of life of being in Orange County versus when we were hoofing it in the city. I mean, the city is great, and I'm really glad I started in Manhattan, because I feel like it's that old saying, if you can thrive there, you can really go anywhere. But to be here and have a community around us and friends and a life outside the industry, it's like, it's the best of everything.
when I asked you guys about like movies, do you also go to Broadway a lot to see the latest shows that are coming out?
do.
You do?
We
can.
do, yeah. We started in theater, and it's a really weird and stressful time for theaters right now. Regionally, Broadway, nonprofits especially, because a lot of their audiences are staying home and they're streaming content now. And a lot of their subscribers are no longer subscribing. And so that's another thing, is like how the industry pivots to continue to be able to stay open. Right.
But we try to watch everything. We're from theater, so we see theater, we see TV, we see film, we watch as much as we can, we absorb as much as we can just to stay sort of current.
I remember during the pandemic, that's where streaming, I think, really took off, for at least for us, because we were watching my kids and everything, and I saw Hamilton for the first time streaming.
Yes.
But I've seen it twice in real life, and it was great in theater. But it was weird to see like a Broadway show like that on streaming. And but we watch, like, you know, we're big Star Wars fans. My son and I watched Ashoka, the latest episode, before I left the house this morning. But I think it's an exciting time, though. You know.
Yeah.
And it is an amazing time. And I've met some of your people like that work for you. So last time we met, I think a week or two ago, you showed me two of the major people that are at the new site as a former Anthony's Pier 9. And they were guys from the city, and you nabbed them up, and they're now guys from the Hudson Valley.
Oh yeah, we bring them here.
Film family grows, right?
We adopt a lot of people.
That's great. So how is it, like they say it's challenging for a husband and wife team to work together, or sometimes it works. Obviously, it seems to be working for you two.
Yeah.
How long you guys been married for?
It'll be 20 years.
20 years,
next
my
month.
God.
I know.
I thought you guys were going to tell me like 5 years.
No, 20.
20 years next month.
It does not age you two. Or you started when you were 17, maybe.
I was 4 when I started.
Yeah. No, it's funny. So our company is 23 years
wow,
old.
guys.
So we were business partners before we were husband and wife.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I met Tony. I was, producing on my own in the city, and he was producing on his own, and he was also directing. And, after that great blind date, we became really good friends, but we were both also like, oh, we can't be in a relationship, we're career focused. And so we kind of faded away. And then he was directing something that I was cast in, and first day of rehearsal, I walk in and I was like, what? So Kismet kept putting us back together.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
But I think we work really well together because we are very similar in the important ways, and we're very different in a lot of ways. So I think we balance each other out.
100%. I think we complement each other in a way. We each have different skill sets that seem to balance out. It works.
What happened during the industry when the pandemic happened? I know you were I think you guys were filming or stuff was going on. I know people had to stop.
Yeah.
Were you guys like, oh my God, we're doomed? Or, oh my God, we got to reorganize and restructure how we do this industry?
Immediately, I remember we pulled all of our stage managers together and a bunch of our friends who were also in the industry, and we said, and my sister actually works in the medical field. So we had her on conference calls constantly trying to say, how can we safely reopen? Because stopping is not possible after we obviously, everybody paused for a minute. But it was a really interesting challenge, but also I feel that the film and television industry was one of the first ones to come back strong because everybody across all the different unions and departments put their skill sets together for how to keep a safe set, a clean set, and get us back to work.
Yeah, we used that time really to sort of figure out how we can, as soon as it was permissible by the state, to open up, and as soon as we were, to keep it safe and to keep us there. I mean, we really just dedicated ourselves to that pivot. We should just have a company called Pivot Pictures. We should, just because producing is problem solving, and this was an enormous problem that everybody was faced with, and we just decided, how can we best approach this, fix this, address this, so that when the time comes to open, we can take the most advantage of it. So,
Did you guys ever have a time when you guys, 20 years of doing this plus, where you guys said, this is not happening, we might have to recalibrate, figure out what the heck we're going to do?
Every morning between the hours of probably 5 and 7, and then we regroup and figure out.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because it's funny. So we had. It was slow going when we first started our company because we were both successful in different. Like Tony was very successful as a playwright and as a director, and then moved into television. I was doing very well as an actor, and we were like, oh, and we'll have the company on the side, and so as technology started to grow and the whole performer landscape started to change, we said we need to have a services company.
Yeah.
And that was a big moment where we went, we know how to do all these pieces, and it can't always just be our story. And the minute we said, let's have a production services company. Our company kind of blew up,
kinda
and
took
then
off.
and then that was the same year that Tony's first feature. The New York Times gave it a great review. It opened theaters across the country, and so it was perfect timing for that to happen while we had also expanded our business model. And so constant growth is a constant pivot, I think.
I think so too, but to your point, we always think that, and the next thought we have is, well, then how do we address it? How do we fix it? Is this working? Is this not working? How do we move it forward? How do we grow with the problem so we can solve the problem? And so it's always you're always adjusting. No pathway is the same. No answer is the same. Everything is what's going on the ground, what's happening in our business. How do we approach it? How do we fix it? It's such a fluid thing.
How is the technology? It's obviously just impacting you guys astronomically, like the whole world. I'm worried about cybersecurity in my industry with the county and military-wise.
Yeah.
But with your industry, it's really been completely transformed and continues to do that transformation.
Yeah.
Has it been challenging or exciting to you guys?
I would say both.
I think
right?
I would say it's both.
It's both. Yeah. I mean, with every technological advance in our industry, you have great immediate success, and then you have the domino effect of, oh no, but this is going to cause X. Just a real quick example. So from the time I was like 24 to 38, a majority of my income as a performer was through voice acting. I did, dubbing for cartoons, did tons of commercials, lots of narration, and all of that was, having an agent, and we would go into the city and we would audition at studios, and you would book it. The minute we all got home studios and the ability to audition through our iPhones, instead of me auditioning against 300 people, it was 3,000 people, and then 300,000 people. And so the access for all was wonderful, but it also immediately cut the work in not even in half. It was in like a third. And so the technological growth took away most of my income. So I had to pivot and go, I guess I'm not a voice actor.
I think technology is great. I think advancements are great. I think they're here to stay. Once they happen, it's out of the box and you're happening it. But I think Peter Parker's uncle Ben said it the best: with power comes responsibility. So we just have to be responsible about how we handle this technology and how we handle these advancements to make sure that it's sort of in line with the people that are, running it.
So one of the great things about having you guys here is the economic impact. Yeah. Everybody's excited about it. They're like happy to see actresses and actors and they're take over a street and watch what's going on. And but the economic impact, I think we were walking through Pretty Little Liars, which is around us right now, and you guys told me there was like over 200 people working on just that set.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, even the smallest film could have, employee base of 85 to 100, and then a television show, a majors like this, employs thousands of people over the course of a year. And the core crew is probably 190 to 220.
Yeah. Wow.
Not counting any of the actors.
Yeah. You go back to those end titles and you'll see everybody that's involved. It's enormous.
Yeah. So it's a great, and it's all incredible career-based things, right? It's all unionized labor, and it's not just a job; it's a career. People thrive in it.
Career.
Yeah.
One of the guys, and I called Tony before my last podcast. I interviewed Ted Doring because he's just such a wild guy. He's great, motorcycles and a successful businessman, and owning being the inspiration to help so many studios. And I said, Tony, what can I ask him? And he told me, he's like, look, Ted is the guy that opened this door. Yeah.
Yes.
So what does he mean to you? And you guys work great with him. Yeah. So obviously.
He's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say he had the foresight and the vision to see this here in Orange County before anyone else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And such a supporter of all of our crazy ideas.
I think he saw it coming. I think that's the main thing. But I also think specifically that he is certainly an individual that not only has he been incredibly successful, he gives back. And he made a point of wanting this to be for Newburgh and about Newburgh. Yeah. And so I think that's just an incredible thing to do, And I think the stage wasn't just, hey, I want to get in the stage business and do great things on the stage. He wanted to do something that would then give back to Newburgh as well, and to give back to the area.
I got to tell you, he's a humble guy. You guys are humble too. He's not like, I deserve an award for this. No. He's like, you're thanking me for this. I just like doing this.
Yeah.
He's happy to be doing it.
Yeah. He is, and he really will come out and be here and talk to the crew and talk to the people. He is so thrilled at what the community is getting because of his vision and foresight. So
Yeah.
he's an incredible partner, and we are blessed, and Newburgh is blessed to have him as a homegrown success.
We had a lot of fun with him. What's the story? But where did Umbra come up with?
So,
Umbrella? Like this is like the Umbrella Corporation from.
This was Ted's vision,
Oh.
and Umbra means the darkest part of the shadow before the light.
Oh.
So it's kind of like on a soundstage.
Well, that's deep, huh?
Isn't it?
Did he get that from like an Apocalypse Now? Like,
I mean,
right?
Umbra.
That's like,
I don't know where he got it, but it's always darkest before the dawn.
Yeah.
So we've walked through some of the studios, and you guys are like pretty much maxed out for 2024.
Yeah, I mean there is a wait list of projects when the strikes are resolved that are in queue to come in. Everything from feature films that stand alone to multiple series. So this is why the expansion of the stages has been so incredibly vital. So that we don't have to turn people away.
So you'll have 7.
Six
When
stages
it's done.
and 5 shops, 4 office buildings, and 3 support warehouses.
If you double that amount, just as a curiosity, 'cause Economic Development County Executive, all this going in my head, would you fill that?
Absolutely.
Yes, 100%,
Really?
yeah.
Absolutely. We
We
have
would
turned
fill
away
it.
so many.
So
We
there's
would
so
fill
much
it.
room to
There's
grow
so
That's
more.
right. We would fill it and still turn away.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
people I know in the business industry are like, they don't want to get too big because they want to make sure that pipeline doesn't dry up
Right.
and they're underwater.
Yeah.
But you're saying that if you doubled the amount of studios and things you have right now,
They would still
you'd
be
still
full.
be fine.
We'd still be fine.
Exactly. Because the
We'll have to talk on that.
I was
Yeah,
going to
we
say, because the tax credit is now
I'll
good
call
through
Ted on the way,
2034. Yeah, get that warehouse next door.
Yeah, sorry. The tax
The
credit.
tax credit is good through 2034, and so the
Wow, that's
explosion of
wonderful.
work
Yeah.
is, and it's all over New York State. But people have fallen in love with the Mid Hudson Valley, and I think that is here to stay.
So one of your inspirations was Robert De Niro. Like, was that when you were younger, or as you started developing yourself as an actor, or you had a whole group of people that you were like, man, those guys have it?
Initially, as an actor, I was drawn to him. I was drawn to actors like Al Pacino, Meryl Streep. Those were in my generation
Mine
of
too,
actors
yeah.
that came forward. And I think the thing, once I pivoted away from acting and started writing, the thing that was always a ground level experience with them, and the thing that drew me to them was their intense research behind parts. And I took that level of research into writing. I took that level of research into directing, and certainly into producing. And so to take a subject matter and to understand everything about it, that their work ethic was the thing that I took with me. They had a standard of perfection. They had a desire to educate themselves in every single facet of what they were doing to play a part, strictly for acting. But for me, that work ethic stayed with me. That idea of approaching work stayed with me, whether it was being a stage manager, whether it was being a producer, a writer, or director, whether it was being a location manager. Whatever it was, the idea, they were inspiring to me because they cared about it enough to know everything about it.
Wow.
That it wasn't just a flimsy thing for them.
They always say, there's a saying out there that says, never meet your hero.
Yeah.
And so
It's a good one.
It's a good one, yeah. So when you meet these guys, are you starstruck? I mean, you might have been 20 years ago.
Right.
Now, is it strictly a business thing? Like, all right, here you go. Here's what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, it's when you work around, beside, behind, in front of the camera, everything becomes really like, oh, we're all just people here doing a job. I would say it's hard not to be a little bit starstruck when you see somebody who's a legend like that.
Yeah.
But then the minute you talk to them, you're like, oh yeah, we're all just people.
Yeah.
So
It depends on how you process it, because sometimes you meet people and, good or bad, they're not what you thought they were going to be, and somehow that hurts the way you view their work going forward.
Yeah.
And you don't want that. You want to hold on to that. You want to enjoy their work and not have some different idea about who they are. It hasn't really happened. We've been lucky, I think.
We've been very lucky. And if I think about,
Well, once it happened. Once.
to remain nameless.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I knew when I was driving here. I'm like, I'm not going to ask them who their worst experience, because they're in this industry. But you could tell me, like, individually, like, who's the best man or woman actress
there's
that you
so
met? That,
many.
like, one that's just like, that was just a great experience. It was.
I gotta say, I think seeing and meeting Sigourney Weaver for me. So I grew up Like my
Absolutely love her
my
acting too.
oh my gosh, my heroes growing up were women. So I grew up in the 80s in the Deep South, where women's roles were defined a little differently than how people are being raised today. But I was so lucky to have strong women in my life who said, you can do anything you set your mind to. So, like Sigourney Weaver in Aliens, who is in a situation where, she's not going to win. And she wins. And she does it despite the men trying to take her down. Jennifer Grey in Dirty Dancing, like another great example of how I was able as a young woman to watch actresses who were also very strong women succeed. And so Sigourney Weaver, we got to see her at the was it the 25 year?
At that time, it was the 25 year
re-release of Aliens, and so it was like mind blowing.
Yeah, I would say for me it was Mark Ruffalo when he was here for I Know This Much Is True.
And he's a local guy.
Local
So
guy,
amazing.
great guy. He makes a point to know everybody's name. Really, really sweet, along with being incredibly talented.
Yeah.
Totally professional. That was a great experience.
You've done like The Whale was the last one you worked on, and it was a top movie in the country last year.
Yeah.
Like, where do you go from there? Or do you go like, do you
Always
ever like
onward, upward,
Yeah.
bigger,
Onward.
better. I mean, that's the great thing. The industry is thriving, and the state of New York has a lot to do with that for this region, because the tax credit was reinstituted and really improved. And then Orange County is so supportive of the industry as a whole across all aspects of it. I think, from the janitorial services to the trash cartage to the people who build the sets, it's like there is such talent based here. I think it's just going to get bigger and bigger. I mean, we see this now. The phones are ringing off the hook to get into the stages for future work.
I think you keep going. I think we were really fortunate to have such great talent and storytellers in the Whale to come here and choose Umbra to be at, and to choose Orange County to be in. I think we were so fortunate to have them, and so when they go, we just keep doing the things that we do, just to keep welcoming them, keep supporting talent like that and companies like that.
Did
Because
you feel
Orange
there was a
County
winner?
is open for business,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Did you guys feel you had a winner with that one? Like, wow, this thing's so good.
Absolutely. The
Wonderful, yeah.
vibe.
Because it's an atypical type of movie. This isn't like some action
You
packed
could
or
feel it
You
from
could
the
feel it.
parking
Yeah.
lot
You could
on.
feel it.
I mean, Darren was so kind and warm, and like he and the crew would stand in the parking lot in the morning and like hold hands and have a moment to center.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
very
Really cool.
Yeah.
very creative, beautiful.
Great.
The producers were so smart. A24, the distributor and production company too, just so smart and
It was just a
caring.
great group of people. The talent was great. Brendan Fraser was so fantastic. He was another person who was great to be around. And there was just a community for them.
Community, yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I loved his whole speech, and I like his interviews afterwards about having struggles in life and growing as like humanizing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where people think, like we said, don't meet your hero, but where people see like, wow, this guy that I like is like me,
Yeah.
So you also guys get to go to these cool things. Like what type, like the events that we sit on TV and watch, like if your favorite movie's going to get choice or the sound or something like that. You guys go to some of these events?
We do, and we get all the screeners because we get to vote on a lot of these
Wow.
awards.
So
which
what is the
really
coolest
wonderful.
ones that you guys have been to?
Oh man,
And are they crazy afterwards?
I was gonna say.
What would you say?
I mean, I would say I think the most exciting award shows and awards are wonderful, but I feel like really the exciting thing for us is when we go to like film festivals where they're
Wow,
there
that's
to
cool.
really celebrate the art on a level that's not about the award, and because award shows are so much about marketing and press really. And sometimes people get the awards, 2 years after they should have, and so it's this weird domino effect.
Yeah.
I think that film festivals, are probably some of the most exciting places we've been, where you start to feel that energy and that vibe, and that's like, if you look at The Whale where it premiered at a festival, and you see that 8-minute standing ovation or whatever, it's
Wow.
like that's
Yeah,
where you
that's
go.
great.
Oh, this thing has a life of its own.
Yeah, if I was going to say something in addition, I agree with that. Festivals are just a great place for those kinds of things. If I would say something else, it really is just being on set. Being on set in any capacity, it's
Yeah.
just an exciting place to be. I mean, this wonderful you're just in constant contact with all these people that are there for the right reasons, for one purpose. It's just an exciting, focused, chaotic, but organized event. It's really exciting.
Well, I think it's those two things kind of mirror together, the film festival and the being on set, because you're actively watching the story be consumed or you're making the story.
Yeah.
So, whereas an award show, it's like you're celebrating the story, but that's more about the pomp and circumstance. The experiencing an audience's reaction to something you've created is where you lose it with streaming, right? So you don't get to see it. Being in a theater and watching, like we saw Oppenheimer a couple of weeks
Went
ago.
to IMAX.
In the middle of the afternoon, and it was a packed theater, all different ages, all different, it's a diverse audience. It was incredible. It was incredible. We were holding our breath because that story was so epic in the storytelling and the production value and the sound. But experiencing
the
it
same
together.
thing was with Barbie too. We saw Barbie, and it was
did.
just.
You really do see everything.
Oh, we
see
do
everything.
absolutely. And if we can see it in front of an audience, to us that's
oh,
the
you
best
like
thing.
going with an audience.
I
I love
love
going
it.
with an audience. To
I
me,
love it.
to see their reactions.
Yeah.
to see the
Yeah.
reactions, to be in a community
to plug
of people,
into that vibe.
Yeah.
to feel that energy of it. It reminds you why you do it in the first place. I mean, to me, to always be in touch, with the community that you're in is just a fantastic thing. Whether it's a community of an audience seeing Barbie, whether it's the community of a set making a movie behind the scenes, whether it's a film festival where filmmakers are celebrating each other's works.
That's great.
I mean,
And, the
And we
film
always stay and watch the credits roll.
Always.
because
That's great.
That's where
Always.
you go. Look at the hundreds or thousands of people who worked on this project.
We had one of my friends, he works in the animation, and he did the Polar Express.
Oh, yeah.
And his mother made sure everybody waited to the end to see his name in there.
great.
Now he's in that industry out there.
Yeah.
And it is respectful. And that's why I love that some of the movies throw in a clip at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So
that's a great teaser, or like to keep you doing what you should be, is respectful to that.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of labor that it takes to make a movie, you should spend the extra few minutes to watch credits, to see the people. Because, you always get the top line, you always get what comes up in the beginning of it, but those end credits, everybody should stay and watch, because it's an army. It takes an army of people to make a movie.
So if you got a young girl from Tennessee, a young guy from Florida, has these dreams to get into his business, what would you say to young men and women right now that Orange Oyster Bosse's is doing a acting or drama or film program now? They're going to launch, which is awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So, and I see my younger daughter loves. She was in a school play last year. I brought them to the studio. They were like mesmerized, totally pumped about it.
Yeah.
What do you tell these young men and women? Like, you're loving living your dream right now?
I love it, and I would tell them, don't wait, get on set. Get on set any way you can and start absorbing things. Get somebody's coffee, sweep a broom, being crafty, be handing out, be printing in the office. Whatever it is, get yourself on set and start paying attention to all the different departments. See what makes sense to you. Don't wait. Go. Do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And also I would say that you never stop learning, right? That's the thing. I went to school for this, and then after that I went and took additional classes, and it's not about being a perpetual student, but it's about always knowing that there's more to learn and to grow. And it's it is, if I could give the teenage me advice, I would say, don't be afraid, because it is a scary business, because it's not there's no 9 to 5, right? It's a gig economy, and it's very competitive, but there are a lot of ways to thrive in this industry if you can be open to doing more than one thing.
That's great.
You know what I mean?
I'd also tell them that it's a business, but it's a social business, which means your success is predicated upon your ability to network, to know people.
Right, wonderful.
I would say all those things, but get on set.
And stay open to the possibilities, because you never know. Really, growing up, I had no idea that I was going to love producing and production management as much as I loved acting. Like, I didn't even know what a production manager was. It was like mind-blowing to think about how many ways I can be an active storyteller.
I think being open is probably a really smart thing to say too, because today's aspiring cinematographer could quite easily be tomorrow's production designer. You suddenly get on set and go, oh, I'd rather be here. I'd rather go over here.
Or we need you here. This guy just quit. Or
Exactly.
the other guy's sick.
Exactly.
If you sometimes I hear the casting calls that come out for extras. Does that give the audience a snapshot, like if they to see how it happens?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So they're like seeing a million different things.
Yeah, and I would say, one of my first paid jobs as an actor, once I was out of the theater, was being an extra in a movie for like 3 weeks. And so I sat there and just watched every single person. And when it was appropriate, I'd be like, "What is your job?" You know what I mean?
Yeah. I asked a lot of questions. I was an extra on set when I was first an actor, and I met anybody that I could talk to. I would ask them questions. Because when you're an extra, you spend a lot of time in a room until they call you to go on set, so you're sitting around a lot. So when I saw people that were either PAs or come to find out they were grips or electors, I'd ask them, "Hey, do you have a minute? What is this? What is that?" Be curious is actually probably another piece of good advice. Always be curious.
What is your all-time favorite movies, each one of you, that you go back to? Do you have one? It's tough to nail them down.
I have 3, and they are so different.
Okay, good.
This is me. Like, I'm different.
Good.
I would say Aliens, the second one.
All right.
James
wow.
Cameron. I mean, I think it's a perfect
with the Space
movie.
Marines. It's totally awesome.
Marines, we are leaving.
Yeah.
Best line ever. No, that one right next to Steel Magnolias. I know. Again, I think it's a perfect movie. I did that play in regional theater when I was growing up. I was Shelby, so it's a special place in my heart.
Awesome.
But the storytelling and the performances from the ensemble in those two, untouchable. And then Dirty Dancing, you got to give it to Dirty Dancing.
Yeah. That's a great diverse. You got I hate to say the chick flick ones, but Aliens is out of left field. I was like, that's great. All right, Tony, and you can have the number 2. I'm like Indiana Jones and ones like that.
That's tough. Let me see if I can whittle it down. I'd have to say Withnail and I is a personal favorite of mine. I always go back to that movie because it's about 2 struggling actors in the 60s.
Yeah.
Michael Mann's Thief with James Caan.
Excellent.
Wow, you're deep. This is like Boston
so
College.
Good. And Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, that's a great one.
It's just a fantastic movie.
Great movie.
And which Godfather? I know it's one of them.
It'd be the first one.
Yeah.
It'd be the first one.
Yeah.
I like to go through Tony's collection because most of his favorite things are things that I only know of because of him, and he's a deep well.
Mean Streets is just a phenomenal picture too.
Wow.
We should have movie night. We should do movie night.
We should do movie night. It's hard to pick one actually.
Instead of book club, it can be movie club.
That's
I
tough.
agree.
That's tough to the point of cruel to have to pick.
There's a great theater in Sugarloaf, and they used to have old movies up top.
Yes.
And you'd go there and get like a bottle of wine and like tapas, whatever, and they had it was where these it's I think it was like Some Like It Hot.
Oh yeah.
Then movies like that you don't typically watch, but it was awesome. It was great.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm good with old and new ones. I love Singing in the Rain, like that stuff. That's like those are classics that never get old.
Yeah.
Do you have Criterion Collection? That's what Tony is constantly watching in one room, and I'm like creeping around going, "What are we watching?"
Criterion Channel, yeah.
What is that?
It's on. You can get it on a you can stream it. Criterion. It's just wonderful movies.
But it's all curated from different genres, eras. Sometimes
I like TMC watching where the guy does the narrating before it. Like says, "This is a movie," blah blah blah.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
I took a couple of classes in college because some girls that I was friends with were in it, so I wanted to be with them.
Yeah.
And one was on Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah. One was on Truman Capote, and they would also relate to some of these movies that were related based on some classic novels or love the old Twilight Zones.
Oh yeah,
those are creative
so
too,
great.
right?
You should check out the Criterion Channel. I just watched Umberto D.
Awesome.
On there. Oh.
It's really good.
Well, you guys are the best. I really appreciate you guys doing this with us. And I'm telling you,
for supporting the film industry. I think it's you guys.
It's so exciting.
Help us thrive.
And it's so transforming. It's just transforming our whole county and the region, and it's just exciting. Yeah. People are like, "Oh, another movie." They're all like, "Yes. What's the next movie? What's the next series coming here?" And oh my gosh, there was an actor sighting here. Or we went to the local hot dog stand. Oh my God, they eat ice cream. So it's great. So thank you so much for being here. Thanks for watching this podcast, guys. I think you guys I hope you had as much fun as we did because this is great. Thank you.